Hello everyone, and welcome back. We talk a lot on this channel about human behavior, but today, we're looking to our closest relatives to understand ourselves. The term alpha male is everywhere. It's used to describe a specific type of powerful, dominant, and often aggressive man. But what if I told you the entire concept, as we use it, is based on a massive misunderstanding? Today, we're diving deep into the science of chimpanzees to uncover the truth about leadership, dominance, and power. We're exploring the 5 great myths of alpha leadership. If you love this kind of deep dive, hit subscribe now, because what chimps teach us is not what you think. We see this alpha archetype constantly. The lone wolf, the chess beater, the bully who takes what he wants. This idea is deeply embedded in our culture, from movies to self-help books promising to unlock your inner alpha. It suggests a clear, brutal hierarchy where the strongest rules through fear and intimidation. This concept is often traced back to early, and now outdated, studies of wolves in captivity. But it was later applied, incorrectly, to primates, including our closest relatives, chimpanzees. The assumption was that the biggest, most aggressive male chimp was the undisputed, permanent boss. This image is powerful, but according to primatologists who have spent decades in the field, it's almost entirely wrong. Researchers like Franz de Waal have revolutionized our understanding of primate politics. They've shown us a world far more complex than simple dominance. So, let's start by tackling the very first and most pervasive myth of them all. This is the big one. Myth number 1 is that the alpha leads through brute force alone. This is the core of the pop culture alpha. He rules because he can beat up everyone else. His power supposedly comes from the end of his fist, and everyone submits out of fear. This vision implies that leadership is just a physical competition. But in chimpanzee societies, while aggression is present, it's a very risky and inefficient tool for leadership. A male who tries to rule by fear alone is, as Franz de Waal notes, often a very unpopular leader. He's constantly on edge, stressed, and looking over his shoulder for the next challenger. His reign is almost always unstable and short-lived, because no single individual, no matter how strong, can control an entire group by himself. The other chimpanzees will quickly form coalitions to overthrow a tyrant. This is the first key insight. Brute force can give you dominance, but it cannot give you leadership. Dominance is a status. Leadership is a process. Dominance is about intimidation and taking. Leadership is about influence and, believe it or not, given a dominant bully might get first access to food, but he has no loyal allies. He inspires fear, not respect or loyalty. The moment he shows weakness, gets sick, or is injured, his power evaporates instantly. The others don't follow him. They simply wait for an opportunity to depose him. This is a crucial distinction that our human-centric alpha concept completely misses. We confuse the temporary status of a bully with the long-term role of a leader. True alpha chimpanzees, the ones who hold the position for a long time, play a much different game. Their power doesn't come from just their own strength. It comes from their social connections, their political savvy, and their ability to maintain group harmony. A successful alpha is often a peacekeeper, not just a warmonger. He will step in to break up fights between other members of the group. This stability is valuable to everyone, and it earns him social capital. He builds a network of support by grooming others and sharing resources. This network is his true source of power. If a challenger tries to take him on, it's not a one-on-one fight. It's one chimp against the leader and all of his loyal friends. This is a much smarter, more sustainable way to lead. It's a political game, not a strongman competition. So, the idea of a lone, aggressive ruler is the first major fabrication. It's a fantasy that ignores the deeply social nature of primates. In reality, a bully alpha is a weak alpha, constantly under threat. The true alpha is a savvy politician who understands the group's needs. He knows that power is borrowed from the group, not taken from it. If he fails to keep the peace or becomes too selfish, his support network dissolves. And when that happens, his reign is over. This is a far cry from the simple, brutish image we're sold. It shows that leadership is about social intelligence, first and foremost. This leads us directly to the second major myth about the alpha. It's a myth that is visually very easy to believe, but scientifically false. It's the idea that the alpha is always the biggest and strongest male. Myth number 2. The alpha is the physical peak. We're naturally drawn to this idea. We see the largest chimp and assume he must be the boss. In Hollywood, the leader is always the tall, muscular hero. We equate physical size with power and authority. But in the wild, primatologists see something much more interesting. While size and strength are definitely assets, they are not the deciding factors. It's very common for the alpha male to not be the biggest, strongest, or youngest male in the group. In fact, the alpha can often be an older, more experienced individual. One famous alpha chimp, studied by Duvall, named Yaron, was older and past his physical prime. He was frequently challenged by younger, stronger males who could easily beat him in a fair fight. But Yaron held his position as alpha for years. How? He was a master politician. He was a strategic and calculating leader. He didn't rely on his own fists. He relied on his allies. He built a powerful coalition with the number 2 male, acting as a team. When a challenger approached, he wasn't just facing Yaron. He was facing 2 united individuals. Yaron also understood the power of the females in the group. He would spend a great deal of time grooming the influential females and playing with their infants. This earned him their support, which was just as critical as the male's support. If a fight broke out, the females would often side with Yaron, screaming at his challenger. This social pressure was often enough to end the conflict without physical violence. This story completely debunks the biggest and strongest myth. Yaron's leadership was based on his mind, not his muscles. He was a strategist, a coalition builder, and a community-oriented leader. His strength was social and intellectual. This shows that leadership is a game of strategy, not just a game of size. It's about your ability to build relationships and manage complex social dynamics. The group values a leader who is stable, predictable, and fair. A young, aggressive, and unpredictable brute is a danger to everyone, especially the infants. The group supports a stable leader, even if he's weaker. If you agree this is a powerful idea, let me know in the comments below. It's a fascinating dynamic. This preference for stability and intelligence over raw power is a profound lesson. It tells us that primate societies, including our own, value more than just brute force. This directly challenges the simplistic alpha narrative we've been fed. It's not about the size of your muscles. It's about the strength of your social bonds. This brings us to our third major myth, which builds directly on the first 2. This is the myth of the lone wolf leader. Myth number 3. The alpha acts alone and makes all decisions. We have this romantic image of the alpha as a solitary figure on top of the hill. He needs no one. He consults no one. His word is law. He is the sole decider, the independent force who commands obedience. This, again, is a complete fantasy, both for chimps and for humans, as we saw with Yaron. No chimp leads alone. It is simply impossible. Power in a chimpanzee group is not centralized in one individual. It is distributed throughout a complex network of alliances and relationships. The alpha position requires a coalition. A chimp who wants to become alpha must actively campaign for the role. He can't just fight his way to the top. He must convince others to support him. This campaigning involves a lot of social grooming. He will spend hours grooming kiales, solidifying their bonds. He will share coveted food items, like meat, with his potential supporters. This is a transactional, political process. Support me, and you will be rewarded. The alpha is less like a dictator and more like the head of a political party. He has to keep his constituents happy. If he fails to share resources or support his allies, that coalition will fracture. Once his support base is gone, he is vulnerable. Another male can then start building his own coalition to challenge the leader. This means the alpha is constantly engaged in social maintenance. He has to manage relationships, mediate conflicts, and ensure his key supporters are satisfied. He is not a lone wolf. He is the chief networker. This is a far more demanding and socially complex job than just being the toughest. It requires high levels of emotional intelligence. He must be able to read the room, understand social tensions, and act to diffuse them. He must recognize who is gaining influence and decide whether to befriend or intimidate them. This complex political maneuvering is the real work of the alpha. The chest beating and displays of dominance are just one small part of the toolkit. They are often used not to intimidate the whole group, but to remind specific rivals of the leader's coalition. It's a display of "look how many friends I have." This shatters the image of the solitary leader. True primate leadership is cooperative and deeply social. It's about building consensus and managing a web of mutual obligations. This reality has huge implications for our own ideas of leadership. The lone genius CEO or the strongman political leader is often a myth. Behind any successful leader is a powerful network of allies and supporters. Leadership is, and always has been, a team sport. This brings us to the fourth, and perhaps most telling, myth. It's about what the alpha does with his power. Myth number 4. The alpha takes the most resources. The alpha fantasy dictates that the leader gets the best of everything. Aids fiercest. He gets all the high-value food. He has exclusive access to mates. He uses his power to hoard resources for himself. This is the spoils of war theory of leadership. And while it's true that the alpha male often enjoys significant perks, it's not a one-way street. A leader who only takes and never gives will not be a leader for long. This is one of the most important findings from long-term primate studies. True, successful alphas are often the most generous. They are providers for their group. When a hunting party is successful and catches a monkey, for example, the alpha often controls the carcass, but he doesn't hoard it for himself. He will strategically tear off pieces and share them with his key allies. He will also share with the females, especially those with infants. This isn't an act of pure kindness. It's a critical, political strategy. By sharing, he's reaffirming his social bonds. He's repaying his supporters for their loyalty. He's demonstrating that his leadership benefits the group, not just himself. This generosity is what maintains his position. It creates a sense of obligation and reciprocity. The other chimps support him not just because he's strong, but because he is a fair and generous distributor of resources. Contrast this with a bully alpha who tries to keep all the food. The group will become resentful. His allies will see no benefit in supporting him. They will quickly abandon him for a new challenger who promises a better deal. The alpha's role, then, is often one of a central provider and peacekeeper. He is expected to protect the group from external threats, like leopards or rival chimp groups. He is also expected to maintain internal harmony. This job comes with perks, but it also comes with heavy responsibilities. The group expects him to be generous and fair. If he fails in these duties, he will be replaced. So, the selfish alpha is a failed alpha. The successful alpha is the one who understands that power flows from what you give, not just what you take. This turns the entire pop culture concept on its head. We're taught that alphas are takers. The science shows that true leaders are givers, networkers, and providers. Their power is contingent on their utility to the group. This is a much deeper and more profound model of leadership. It's not about personal entitlement. It's about social responsibility. It replaces a fantasy with a deep social truth. Has this changed your view? Hit the like button if it has. And let's move on to the next myth. This concept of leadership as a service is a recurring theme in primate studies. The alpha holds his position in service to the group's stability. He maintains order, which benefits everyone by reducing costly, chaotic infight. Everyone, from the lowest ranking male to the mothers with infants, prefers order over chaos. The alpha is the one who, through his political skill, provides that order, and he is rewarded with status and mating opportunities for this service. It's a social contract, not a dictatorship. The group effectively hires the alpha to do this job, and if he does the job poorly, he is fired. This is a far more democratic and dynamic process than the alpha myth suggests. The group is not a passive audience. They are active participants in choosing their leader. Their support, or lack thereof, is what makes or breaks an alpha. This continuous feedback loop keeps the leader in check. He cannot become a total tyrant, because the group holds the ultimate power. They can vote him out by simply shifting their support to a rival. This insight fundamentally changes how we should view power. It's not a static object to be held, but a dynamic energy given by the collective. This leads us to the final and most crucial myth. It's the myth that solidifies the entire alpha fantasy. Myth number 5. The alpha status is permanent and desirable. In our stories, the alpha wins, and that's the end. He's the king, and he rules forever. We're taught that achieving alpha status is the ultimate goal. Once you have it, you've made it. The reality for chimpanzees is completely different. First, the alpha position is anything but permanent. It is incredibly fluid and constantly being challenged. The alpha male is, on average, the most stressed male in the entire group. Researchers measure stress hormones like cortisol, and the alpha's levels are often through the roof. Why? Because he is always being tested. Younger males are constantly probing for weakness. Rivals are always trying to build their own coalitions to usurp him. He has to be politically on 20 hours a day. He must constantly manage his alliances, groom his supporters, and watch his back. It's an exhausting high-stakes 20 job. The average reign of an alpha chimp can be as short as a few years. It is a temporary role, not a permanent anointing. He holds the position only as long as he can skillfully manage the social network. The moment he gets sick, injured, or simply makes a political miscalculation, he's in danger. And when an alpha is overthrown, it is often a brutal and violent affair. His fall from power is swift and total. So, this desirable status is actually a honey trap. It offers great rewards, but at the cost of immense, chronic stress and constant danger. Many lower-ranking males, by contrast, live much more peaceful lives. They don't have the same mating access, but they also don't have the same stress. This complexity is lost in our simple alpha versus beta narrative. We're sold a story of a carefree king, but the reality is a stressed-out politician. This alpha label itself is misleading. Many primatologists, including Franz de Waal, have stopped using the term alpha male entirely. They prefer terms like top-ranking male, because alpha comes with too much cultural baggage. It implies a specific type of individual, a personality. But the science shows it's a role, not a personality. It is a temporary job that a chimp has to campaign for and constantly work to keep. It's not a fixed state of being. A chimp isn't born an alpha. He achieves the top-ranking position through incredible social skill. So, the idea that you can become an alpha by acting aggressively is a lie. You'd just become a bully. And as we've seen, bullies are quickly overthrown. The real path to the top is through social intelligence. It's about empathy, generosity, and strategy. You have to be able to understand the needs of others. You have to be able to build trust. You have to be a stable, reliable presence. These are the true alpha traits, if we must use the word. They are the opposite of the selfish, aggressive loner. This has profound implications for human leadership. We are obsessed with the strongman leader, the alpha CO. We celebrate dominance and mistake it for leadership. But just like in chimp societies, this style of leadership is fragile. It breeds resentment, turnover, and instability. A leader who rules by fear will be overthrown the moment his employees or voters have an alternative. The most successful, long-term human leaders are not bullies. They are coalition builders. They are empathetic. They listen. They understand that their power comes from their people, not Obear. They share credit and resources, building a strong network of loyalty. They are, in essence, acting like successful chimpanzee leaders. They are playing the long game of social strategy. This is the ultimate lesson from our primate cousins. True leadership is not about being the alpha male. It's about being the social center. It's about being the most connected, the most trusted, and the most generous. That's the ultimate lesson from our primate cousins. We're covering so much today. Sharing this video is a great way to support the channel. So, let's recap the 5 great alpha myths we've debunked today. Myth 1. The alpha rules by brute force. The truth. Dominance is not leadership. A bully's reign is short. Real power comes from a coalition. Myth 2. The alpha is the biggest and strongest. The truth. Leadership is often held by older, more strategic males who are not the strongest. Myth 3. The alpha acts alone. The truth. There is no such thing as a lone wolf leader. Power is impossible without a strong network of allies. Myth 4. The alpha takes all the resources. The truth. A selfish leader loses support. True alphas are generous providers who share resources to maintain their coalition. Myth 5. The alpha status is permanent and desirable. The truth. It's a temporary, high-stress job. The alpha is constantly at risk of being overthrown. What we're left with is a picture of leadership that is far more nuanced and hopeful. It's not a prize for the most aggressive. It's a role for the most socially adept. The real alpha, the successful leader, is a peacekeeper. He is a politician. He is a negotiator. He's an empath. He understands that his primary job is to maintain group harmony, because in a stable, harmonious group, everyone thrives. This is a lesson our own species is still struggling to learn. We are still captivated by the myth of the alpha male. We still celebrate dominance and aggression as strength. We still mistake intimidation for influence. But the science is clear. That model of power is a fantasy. It's a juvenile understanding of a complex social world. The alpha male of pop culture doesn't really exist in nature, at least not in any successful, long-term way. He is a caricature, a myth. The reality is so much more interesting. The reality is that leadership is about connection. It's about building bridges, not walls. It's about giving, not just taking. It's about social intelligence, not just physical might. This is true for chimpanzees, and it is true for us. We are primates, after all. Our political and social instincts run deep. They are rooted in the same principles of cooperation and coalition. The most effective human leaders are the ones who understand this. They don't command. They build consensus. They don't hoard. They isar. They don't intimidate. They inspire. They act as the stable, reliable center of the group. They reduce conflict and foster a sense of shared purpose. This is what our primate relatives have been doing for millions of years. Perhaps it's time we started paying closer attention. Instead of chasing a myth, we can learn from the truth. The truth is that real strength is social. Real power is shared. And real leadership is, ultimately, an act of service. It's about making the entire group stronger. This is what chimpanzees can teach us. It's a profound lesson about our own nature. The alpha is a myth. The community is the reality. We need to redefine what we think of as strong. It's not the loudest voice in the room. It's not the one who beats his chest. It's the one who can bring the group together. The one who can resolve conflict. The one who can create stability and trust. That is the true leader. That is the lesson from the chimps. It's a more complex, but ultimately more rewarding model. It replaces a simple-minded fantasy with a deep, social truth. Let's abandon the myth of the alpha. Let's embrace the reality of social leadership. It's how our closest relatives survive and thrive, and it's the only way we will, too. So, the next time you hear someone talk about being an alpha male, you can remember what the chimpanzees actually do. You can remember that power is not about dominance. It's about connection, generosity, and intelligence. It's about the hard, daily work of maintaining the social fabric. That's the real story. And it's a much better story. If you made it this far, thank you. Click that bell icon so you never miss a deep dive like this one. So, that's a completely different perspective on the alpha myth, drawn directly from decades of science. It really changes how you see leadership, doesn't it? It swaps a simple, aggressive fantasy for a much more complex and intelligent reality. True power lies in social skill, not just brute force. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this. I find this topic absolutely fascinating, and it has big implications for our own lives. What are your thoughts? Do you see these chimp politics playing out in your own workplace or social circles? Let me know your perspective in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think. And if you enjoyed this discussion, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into science and human nature. I'll see you in the next video.